Yes.
This is a very, very simple question, but I've heard this term come up a lot during the panel. I just want to know your guys' opinion on the definition of an up-and-comer.
I don't know. I mean, up and comer, I feel like
I think there's people who've been doing it 20 years that still would.
Yeah. I feel like an up and comer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it does less with time as to do with where, you know, breaking that sort of like, I think we can even almost in some, I think it really is subjective in a lot of ways, but I think you can look at it like that, you know, what's your version of success? And I think what we're talking about here is, we can think about it, is being able to do what you love, your art, full time. I think maybe that could be one measurement. Like, you know, when you're at that point where you can do your art full time, don't have a day job, and doing that, maybe that can be. I mean, but I guess that's a different level. Then you're at that place, and I guess you're always up and coming in some ways.
Building infrastructure, I would say, and also people who are looking at some pretty serious capital limitations, probably. You know, when you don't have infinite budgets or you got pretty tight ones, I think that also is part of the definition.
Yeah, I think that, and like notoriety, you know, it depends on your ceiling, like the ceiling that you make for yourself. Like, okay, this is where I want to go. You may want to go here, and the next rapper or singer or whatever is trying to get there. You may be like, you know what, I don't really want to be that mainstream. I want to be kind of on the underground level and just rock that to sleep and really just win in that world. In that case, you've made it, but in the mainstream eyes, you may still be looked at as up and coming. So I don't think there's really one definition. I think it's per artist, per case, you know.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had the pleasure of seeing a lot of Rhymesayers artists and playing with a couple of them before. But one thing that I've noticed is that, you know, from Doomtree like, all the way up to Atmosphere, it's like after all the shows, they're all accessible. Like you always see them in the crowd, like talking to people and chopping it up. Is that something that Rhymesayers like purposefully, like mindfully?
That's something that Slug did. Everything that you see Rhymesayers artists do that's good is something that Slug did. That's the truth. And then everybody also that's inspired by that are doing those things, whether they know it or whether they acknowledge it or not. Like we're all doing a lot of things that Slug did. And there are artists now that might not even know who Slug is. They don't know that they're doing what he did. But yeah, that's something that I think a lot of, and I've toured with people that come from other worlds that tour with him or with us and learn that, and yeah, that definitely is a part of it, that when people go to a show, they know, and it goes back to what I said about that music making that connection, that they know I'm going to go to the show, I'm going to watch them perform, I'm going to get a t-shirt or something, and then I'm going to hug them, I'm going to tell them a story about, you know what I mean? And it's not to say that other people haven't done it before, but there is a certain level of accessibility that came out of that particular aspect of the underground, that it's a fundamental part of being an artist. Yeah, and it's extremely important because it gets people to the shows. And I know Kevin, you want to definitely hit on that area, and I know we kind of went along so we didn't get to it. But you know, that the real way, I think we can all agree, the real way that we really feed ourselves and our families is from our touring, from our live shows. And so that's another added aspect of it. I know people that don't perform very well, but people love their music and they want to hug them. And there are people that buy tickets, I won't say their names, but there are people who buy tickets just to hug that motherfucker. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. That's good. People go to book readings to do that. You know what I mean? My wife just wanted to hug to David Sedaris so bad. And she was like, I don't know who this motherfucker was. But she was just like, I gotta hug that dude. Like, go hug that dude, man. I watch the kids, you know. But that's a real thing, and that's something that's really important.
Mm-hmm. All right, real talk. For those of us hustling CDs to pay grocery bills or get the CD money back, at least for how much you spent on the blank CDs, you know, real talk, what I'm talking about. You know, like, what advice do you have to promoting, getting yourself out there? Like that Dumbass Friday video got so much coverage. I like the idea of the story. It's nice to hook them on that stuff. Stephen King did stuff like that for earlier books, you know, and series. You wait until the next one, you know.
Right.
what would you suggest to people that don't have a budget, that are up and coming, but haven't already developed enough clout for, you know, some of the things you mentioned to be effective?
I think the hand-to-hand game entirely, like when you look at cats who are effective at asking for change, I honestly believe if you're just hand-to-handing and you're now working on like a face recognition, or I just played a set, that like watching that game, like say something, you know, say something funny, like have a quick line at the ready. I used to hand out flyers for Doomtree, and there's so many times before the musician thing was working that cats go, hey, that's that flyer girl. Like, ah, thanks, man. You know, obviously never come to the shows that I'm handing out. It's fine. But to develop a good hand-to-hand game, that skill I think is really distinct from the skills of being a musician. And
well, like every city I go to and travel, I always got someone come up with some headphones, say, yo, peep my stuff out. And be like, well, if you can out freestyle me right here, I'll buy your stuff. So like,
if that's working for you, you know what I mean?
That's not attractive for, I never buy the stuff because I can't freestyle. But, you know, the thing is that like, I've done shows with, you know, Prince Paul and Devin the Dude and whatnot, and I'm part of Project Glow. They produced this, Red Laurel, all that kind of stuff from the West Coast. So I'm cool with people, and I've done pretty big shows, but like, I don't have the budget like to market, you know, as far as like any kind of professional campaign. It's really getting the word out there. Is there like, I mean, I've heard of Reverb Nation, I've heard of like, I haven't tried it out. You know, I've heard of other stuff like that as far as digital media, getting the buzz on, or, you know, stuff like that.
Well,
Yeah.
yes, go ahead. I was going to say, I think that what you're saying is all those things. When you're like an artist like that, you're even no matter your level, is being able to do all that you can as well as you can. I don't think it's like do this one thing or do these couple of things and that's in the story. I think you have to be able to do all those things and incorporate them and connect with your fan base and do them well. There is no, hey, this is it, this is the formula. It depends on different artists, have different approaches that work for them. It's got to be based on your music, your personality, you know, your budget. I mean, everything applies in one way or another. Oh, you got some of that?
Yeah, just to add on, man, I was in your shoes like identically, man. So with me, you know, I came from the era, I always say it's like the middle ground where it was right when the blogs were about to start, but they weren't started yet. Like there was no Not Right, there was no Two Dope Boys. You know, you had Hip Hop DX, Hip Hop Game, all hip hop, and that was pretty much it. And everything as far as mixtapes and CDs was still very much hand in hand. I'm from New York, so it was all about going to the mixtape spot, going to the sneaker spot, going to the white t-shirt spot with the Africans or whatever it was, and buying the CDs in the back of the store. Like I'm a product of that, going from Brooklyn to the Bronx to Queens or whatever, dropping off 20 CDs, 50 CDs, coming back a week later, picking up whatever CDs they didn't sell or picking up the money or whatever. The one thing I learned early, and one thing I tell people now, in New York, the hand-to-hand game is still heavy, but they hit you with the, yo, buy my joint, it's $5, whatever. No one is gonna buy something from somebody that they don't know or that they've never heard, ever. So when I was moving, I sold my stuff in the stores, but I never sold stuff hand-to-hand in the street or at shows. I was getting rid of everything for free. And it's the theory of it takes money to make money. Like right then and there, I was losing money. I'm going to pick up, you know, 200 CDs or 500 CDs every time I got paid from work and flipping CDs or whatever. But I knew I'm not gonna see this money right back, but I'm gonna see it in the long run. Because what happened is the CD got down to North Carolina. Ninth Wonder got the CD. Yo, come down, let's work. Me and Ninth worked. That turned into us doing a project in 3 days called Cloud 9. That turned into DJ Premier here and being like, yo, I want to give you some records and let's do that. That turned into Pete Rock. That turned into Knots and High Tech and Just Blaze and everybody else that I've worked with. That turned into me not having to work anymore. You know what I mean? So it starts there and you just got to work. You're not going to see anything as far as financially off top. But you gotta know it takes money to make money and you're investing in yourself. Like you become a brand and a business within yourself. So spend the money. Like you're not gonna see it and it's gonna hurt, but if you really believe in it, yo, get a CD out. Like I've never been like, yo, I need $5 for that in the street. When I was coming up, like what I look like, nobody know what I heard, you know, nobody know what I sound like or whatever. Like why would they buy it? So I would, yo, here, take that, yo, take that, take that. As long as your cover art is crazy, as long as you don't have a Sharpie written on the CD, but it's really printed, like go the extra mile, because it's gonna make people want to keep it. I've seen people Frisbee CDs because it looked terrible and they never even heard it. I've kept CDs myself. I remember I got something, I think at South by last year, and it was literally a box with a flash drive and, you know, a comic book and all types of stuff. And I was like, yo, I'm keeping this. Like the marketing and the packaging on this and the design, like I'm keeping this. My 10-year-old brother was like, Sky, what's that? Because it was a comic book and a cartoon and it was in a cool box and it had a smiley face. He was like, yo, what's that? You know, so go the extra mile if you can. You can't afford it, I understand it, but if you can, go the extra mile, it's gonna be worth it.